Hello and happy Easter. Hello. Stephanie Dickerson, and I am here today to share with you my story. And I'm going to give a few minutes because a few of you RSVP'd that you were coming. And I know that it's Easter, it's a holiday, and we're in shelter, we're sheltering in place, and there's a lot going on today. And I'm going to share with you my story. Regardless, I am really wanting to just let you in on what feels to me like my path to taking my power back and to returning to love, and how I continue to return to love again and again. So when you do come on, if you're listening now, you can let me know where you're listening from, or if you're watching the replay, just go ahead and give a comment. You can hashtag replay in the comments where you're from, and if you're watching now or hashtagging replay, just letting me know where you're at. Yeah. So it's really good to be here with you today, and it always means a lot to me to come on live with you. And also I am always a little bit nervous, just wanting to so much to be able to share with you what's on my heart, and even more so today when I want to really let you in on who I am, where I've been, and how I got to where I am today. So we'll just dive in and get started. And I am Stephanie Dickerson, as you know, and you probably also know that I am a mama to 3 small children and an Ayurvedic practitioner, as well as a motherhood coach. And I lead women in learning how to really take care of themselves, their own hearts and their own well-being, in the midst of the chaos that is motherhood, and now the chaos that is the cultural crisis that we're all finding ourselves living in. So over the last 18 years, using a combination of a hands-on approach and Ayurvedic wisdom, I've had the honor of helping hundreds of mothers come into more ease and relaxation, come into their bodies, into more well-being. And for the first decade of my practice, I found that most of my clients were women that were coming to me to learn how to take care of themselves, really coming to me to learn how to do that. And they were motivated often by physical pain or autoimmune issues, digestive issues, or food sensitivities. All manner of discomfort, including depression and anxiety, lack of connection to themselves and their purpose. And what stood out to me about these women again and again was that most of them were mothers, and the thing was, their children were almost always older, often fully grown. And these women had been putting themselves on the back burner, living that way for 10, 20, even 30 years or more. And they were really suffering from the consequences of doing that. And that is why I have made it my mission to reach mothers while their children are still young, so that they know that they can take great care of themselves and be the loving, nurturing mothers, taking care of their kids and their families the way that they want to be. So what I know more deeply now, since becoming a mother, is how stressful that transformation is. And when you combine that with the lack of support for mothers in our society, and the lack of skills that we have around taking care of ourselves. It is a combination of, it creates a recipe for depletion and exhaustion. I'm just having some text messages come in. Try not to get distracted by that. So, understanding that more fully now, you might think seeing me here and showing up in this group the way that I do, that feeling so connected to my passion and my purpose, that it came naturally to me. But I can assure you that that was not the case. I wanted to take you back today to when I was pregnant with my first son. I'm 35 and living with my husband in what amounted to our dream home, overlooking Kachemak Bay, looking right out on the water at the Kenai Mountains. And it's feeling like everything is coming together for me. I'm wondering, have you ever had that experience? An experience of all the stars aligning and feeling like everything is coming together for you? Hi, Chris. Hi. That's how I was really feeling at this time. I was 35 and I was finally really, really ready to start a family. I felt really ready. I was healthier and happier than I ever had been before. My marriage felt really solid. I had read Bringing Baby Home by the Gottmans. Have you heard of that book? And I felt our marriage was baby-proofed. I was sure that we had this. I was so ready to put into practice the fruits of my dedicated practice of the last decade and a half of living my Ayurvedic teachings and walking the path of yoga and spiritual practice. Not only that, but I had a ton of experience with kids, and I was, in short, ready to become the perfect mother for my child. Scott and I brought our baby home, and I just floated, blissed through the first few months of his life. I did my Ayurvedic protocol. Scott was amazing and supportive. We were in love. We made love. Everything was perfect. And then things all started to fall apart. And it was like the ground was shifting underneath my feet. Slowly, I began to realize just the extent of my unresolved trauma. The effects of the childhood that I thought I had put behind me. The sexual abuse that I felt that I had already dealt with. And I found myself more and more dealing with the effects of this complex trauma. My stress cup literally just started to overflow. And it really felt like it really was only motherhood that could have brought me to this point. My stress cup would continue to overflow even as I immersed myself in learning everything that I could about the effects of complex trauma. I had spent years in therapy, and I felt, how could nobody have told me about this? How could nobody have explained this to me? And slowly, it all started to make sense. What was happening to me? The out of proportion reactions to everyday circumstances, the being stuck in negative noticing, the hypervigilance, the being so hard on myself that it was like I was completely identified with my inner critic. It all started to make sense, but I was powerless to change it. And so I studied and I struggled and I tried to cope, and life went on. Scott tried to understand. He tried to help. He really did everything that he could. We bought our real dream property, and as it was in need of serious renovation, we dug in. We spent the next few years living in a remodel and having another baby. And as I struggled, I still did everything that I knew I should. I took care of myself. I exercised. I went to yoga retreats. I went back to therapy. I read all of the books. We finally got our house to a comfortable place. And at that point, I may be the first person in the history of the world who ever made the New Year's resolution to drink more. In short, I did everything that I could to make myself feel better. And for the first time, I really knew that I deserved it. But nothing worked. Not for long anyway. I was living in a trauma response and completely hijacked by fear. A fear that Scott would die in one of his frequent helicopter trips. Fear that I would completely fuck up my children beyond repair. Fear that I never should have gotten married and had children in the first place. Eventually, I found myself literally drowning in stress and anxiety. Curled up on my bathroom floor, vomiting, just completely overcome. I even took 2 trips to the emergency room where it was determined that I was just suffering from what amounted to a panic attack. And it was during this time that the healing power of my soul took over. I was so desperate to figure this out. I had an experience of profound grace and of forgiveness. It was an experience of being able to see so clearly that that past had made this me, who had married this incredible man and birthed these beautiful children. And in this experience, in this real gift of grace, all became perfect again. And I found myself again living in love. But I had no idea how I had gotten there. It was grace, to be sure, but I didn't know how to stay there. And it didn't last. And when the rumblings began again, this time I was seriously focused. I knew I could not go back to living in that fear and anxiety. So I really committed. I just dug so deep into my inner work. I recommitted to the sacred self-care practices of Ayurveda. I started the process of reconciling with my mom. I opened myself up to ways of healing and to parts of myself that I never had before. And I'm not gonna lie, life stayed really, really hard for 2 more years. Really hard. But I kept doing everything that I could. And one of the most important things that I learned, that I really internalized at this time, was that as humans, we are wired for connection. And I gave up on the idea that I was going to somehow be able to do this alone. But I no longer wanted to hear from anyone who hadn't been exactly where I was, deep into marriage and motherhood. Somebody who had really met the demons that they discovered there and conquered them, who had come out on the other side. And it took me a long while, but I did eventually find that guide. But what I found that I really didn't expect was something else. I found a structured approach to transformation. One that, when combined with supported guidance and a community of others to travel with, enabled me to come back into safety, love, and belonging. Maybe even to arrive there really knowingly for the first time. And this time, purposefully, I should say, I knew exactly what I had done to get there and what to do when I ever get lost, which of course I do frequently because life still continues to be unspeakably challenging for me as it is for all of us. But this is why I do the work that I do today. And during this time, my husband and I got pregnant with our 3rd child. And as T.S. Eliot says, at the end of all our exploring will be to come back to where we started and to know that place for the first time. We just celebrated my 3rd child's 1st birthday about a week ago. And my son is 6 years old and my daughter 4. And Scott and I will be celebrating our 10th anniversary this May. I am so grateful for the gifts that have allowed me to sit here with you today. And it's my greatest wish to be able to share them. And that's really why I'm here with you right now. So if you are interested in knowing what those steps are, I guess that's what I wanted to say, was to speak a little bit more about that. How it is, the way that I do my work today is using the same combination of a structured approach and supportive guidance through my one-to-one and group coaching and the simple, profoundly simple and yet sacred self-care strategies of Ayurveda, so that this powerful combination allows me to walk with women predictably back into love and safety and belonging, so that we can create that for our children. Because one thing that I know for absolute sure is that I'm not alone in my experience of motherhood, showing me what is unresolved in myself and in causing my stress cup to overflow. And it's that overflow that fuels the cycle of generational trauma and abuse. And nothing is more important for our world than breaking that cycle. I would love to be able to share with you more about my course, the structured approach, the way that it fits with my coaching, one-on-one and group coaching, and the sacred but very, very simple self-care practices of Ayurveda. If you'd like to hear more about this, I have 2 spots open right now to work with women for the next 12 weeks. And when you think about what these 12 weeks are going to be like for our family and who we want to be at the end of this period of intensity, I really have a dream that I'm going to be able to support all of us. But if there are a couple of you that are really ready for this transformation, I'm here and ready to hold your hand as we walk through this intense time together so that you can come through it on the other side, having learned how to create the safety on the inside that allows you to remain secure no matter what the circumstances outside in our outside world bring, that allows you to really feel the love that you have for yourself and your family and for the world as a whole, and know that you belong there, to really be able to land in your place in the order of things, to be able to live more connected to your passion and your purpose. So thanks, you guys. Thanks, Chris, for being here and watching with me. And Amber, nice to see you. And I look forward to being with you again soon. Let me know any questions that you have, if there's any part that piqued your interest that you'd like to hear me elaborate on, anything you'd like to know about my story, what it's been like for me, or how I work, how I could work with you. Okay. Thanks. Bye for now.